Call to order the Planning Commission meeting for August 2nd, 2021. If you can all rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we do a roll call?
Austin Bonta. Tom Cherry.
Here.
Carrie Gunning.
Here.
Gina Geis-Hurst.
Here.
Hortensia Moreno. Charles Thompson.
Here.
Luke Weinman.
Here.
Kevin Witherspoon.
Here.
Denise Little.
We have quorum. Next on the agenda, approval of minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to read the minutes for last meeting? And if there's no objections, do I have a nomination to
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
have a second? Okay. Do we have any reports of officers or committees?
Mr. Chairman, can we call roll please on that?
Oh, yes. Call roll.
Tom Cherry.
Yes.
Carrie Gunning.
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst.
Yes.
Charles Thompson.
Yes.
Luke Weinman.
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any reports of officers or committees?
I do not have a report. Council.
I do not.
We'll start with new business. This is a public hearing, so everyone will have an opportunity to speak for the petitioner and to speak against the petitioner. And I'll start with anyone speaking against the petitioner. After you speak, I'd ask you to sign in your name and address, and after you speak, these questions will be addressed at the end. So, so the first order of business is Z-02-21. James McCamey, Attorney Karen Tellian. This is for requesting a change of zoning from R2 low density residential to C1 small to medium general commercial at 6441 Melton Road.
Yes, thank you. I am sorry. I have spoken to Scott. I've spoken to Kurt. We're here for this. We seem to have some snafu about the green cards. So I am going to, and I'm just going to say, it is likely the fault of my office somewhere. I'm taking full responsibility for that. But I will ask for a continuance if you can put us on the next agenda.
So we just need a motion to continue to the next regular schedule.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Roll call. Roll call.
Carrie Gunning.
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst.
Yes.
Charles Thompson.
Yes.
Luke Weinman.
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon.
Yes.
Tom Cherry.
Yes.
Thank you. And can you
Thank you.
just give me the date for the your next hearing?
Sure.
That's Wednesday.
What?
That would be Wednesday, September 8th.
9/8/21. I thought you said next Wednesday. All right, thank you. Okay.
All right. Next on new business, P-02-21, Housing Opportunities Incorporated, Attorney Todd Lee and Katie Kopp, seeking primary plat approval for Prominence Commons Subdivision at 6450 Evergreen Avenue, 3 lots.
tell you that the last time I had to move the microphone up was a long time ago, because usually I'm the short guy. If I follow Senator Talion, I guess that's the advantage. Good evening. My name is Todd Leith. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner in this matter, as well as the following two cases as well. So with your permission, I would like to make my comments addressing all three, because quite frankly, they're so intertwined, it's hard to unravel them and do that separately. The first one, the one for the primary plat for Prominence Commons, is a public hearing, and you'll take comment after I speak, and then you can ask me and all of the others here questions, and then vote on each one of those petitions separately. If that's okay with you, that's the way I would like to proceed. Great, thank you so much. As you indicated, the petitioner is Housing Opportunities. Housing Opportunities is a 501c3 organization. They promote community housing development in both Porter and LaPorte counties, and they've been doing it for 26 years. Housing Opportunities provides for a continuum of many different programs to address home ownership, homelessness prevention, crisis intervention, and provide for supportive and affordable rental housing. Jordan Stanfill, their CEO, is here tonight, and Jordan's going to help me answer questions that you might have, or those that come from the public during the public hearing. Christopher Wolf of Shive Hatterley is the design professional for the architecture and the project. He joins me as well as part of our team. John Hannon from Great Lakes Engineering provided the civil engineering design stormwater plan for the project. Cheryl Sharp from Milestone is the project consultant, and she's here as well. So we have a team assembled to present to you this petition and the following two and answer your questions about them. As I indicated, we're asking for three things tonight: primary plat approval, secondary plat approval, and both site plan approval for both phase 1 and phase 2. The petition is a subdivision, if you will, called Prominence Commons. It's a 3-lot subdivision on just under 5 acres overall. The Portage Resale Shop is the anchor on that 5 acres today. And we're going to carve off 2 additional lots and leave the resale shop on lot number 1 as you look at the plan. So lot number 1 will stay as the resale shop, the building and the parking lot to its west. There'll be no changes on lot number 1 whatsoever. So Housing Opportunities is going to develop lots 2 and 3. The development is a multifamily apartment project of 48 units. Phase 1 will be on the lot that fronts on Evergreen, and that's lot number 3. And that's a little over 1.2 acres in size. And on that lot, there will be a 12-unit apartment building and a community building of just shy of 2,100 square feet. That community building will serve both phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 2 is lot number 2, and that will have a 36-unit apartment building. And we provided to you some bird's eye view and street view renderings of the overall project. The use is consistent with the existing zoning. So the subdivision fits within your zoning ordinance, M2, medium density multifamily residential. On June 28th, we appeared in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals with regards to some development standards questions where we couldn't meet your zoning ordinance as it applied to details, development standards, not uses. 2 of those are site plan development issues, which are the main floor, minimum main floor area and parking. The relevant variance with regard to the primary plat is that lot number 2 does not have frontage on Evergreen. But we resolve that because these are sister developments, if you will, through a reciprocal cross easement agreement. In other words, the lot that doesn't have access will have the right to go through the lot that does and access the rear. This easement agreement also covers such things as utility access and stormwater drainage management. The subdivision and site plan, as you know, when we file them, have to go through a review process. Great Lakes Engineering, Mr. Hannon and his organization, have prepared a very detailed stormwater management plan. It's 114 pages thick. Stormwater's been analyzed for this less than 5-acre parcel. Christopher Burke, your engineering consultants, have reviewed this plan and commented. Changes and modifications have been made, addressed, and incorporated into the final plan. In addition to stormwater review, all of the plans, the sheets, the 24 by 36 drawings, the engineered drawings, all of those are reviewed as well. And we responded to 4 rounds of comments from your staff, including Christopher Burke and the engineering. It resulted in ultimately 29 comments, 28 of which we've resolved satisfactorily, and the most recent staff comments say so. The 29th one says that we have to apply for a soil erosion Rule 5 permit for land disturbing activities. We haven't done that yet, and we will do so prior to commencement of work, which is the deadline for doing that. We can't do that because the notice that we have to provide is a notice of intent to do so. And I think it would be presumptuous of us to do that before we have your approval and the permits required. So once we have that, then we can check off that last box. The comments from staff indicate that that's going to happen. So we've gone through all of the requirements and all of the zoning uses and comply with everything that your ordinance requires us to do. We're not here asking you to grant a variance. We're not asking you to do anything that hasn't already been done either by the team assembled behind me or by your Board of Zoning Appeals. We're simply asking you to make sure that we've done all of the things that are required and grant the approvals that we're asking for. Primary plat, secondary plat, and the site plan. And we've done all of the things that your ordinances require to the satisfaction of all of your consultants, and I believe your staff as well. With that, Chris and John, Jordan, and Cheryl and I are happy to answer questions that you might have or those that come from the public. Thank you.
Well, right now, we're going to open it up for public comments. Is there anyone here to speak against the petitioner? Come on. Can you, is there a sign-in sheet up there?
Yes, there is. Good evening. I'll put it up this time. Good evening. My name is Ben Breitinger, and I am the full-time property manager and part owner to the parcels which abut number 3 and number 2, common addresses being 6420 Evergreen and 6480 Evergreen. And I realize that we are here to discuss subdivision matters, and I will freely admit that I missed my opportunity to discuss usage of these parcels, and I apologize if I am putting a square peg in a proverbial round hole. However, I do have a concern regarding the usage. I have years of experience working with folks who are trapped in the cycle of poverty and homelessness. I have accolades from a group called Housing Opportunities for Women in Chicago, and I am very empathetic towards that population, but I would like to stimulate some curiosity perhaps on the part of the board regarding the specific usage. I realize this may be too late. Again, perhaps this could retard the approval of phase 2, but specifically I have not seen in writing something that would portend to state that this is not going to be an emergency homeless shelter or a shelter for folks who are going to require a lot of resources from the city in the way of a lot of police phone calls. There is a property in Valpo that is managed by the petitioner that receives a lot of phone calls per year. I think it's 179 phone calls for a 26 unit. And Housing Opportunities has written me a very nice letter stating that whatever 6450 will be, it will have on-site management, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. There will also be a ceiling in terms of income, but my purpose is just to register my concern that I'm not sure what the property is going to be, meaning parcel number 3, nor in specificity number 2. And so I hope that I've awakened some curiosity about that, and I apologize if I'm doing it in the wrong venue. And I will sign in.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak against the petitioner? Come up.
Hi, my name's Jose Olivencia. I'm here on behalf of Angie Garza. She had a couple questions that she wanted to bring up to the board. She says studies across the U.S. have shown that areas with homeless shelter have a 60 to 70% increase in crime within a 5-block radius, and that includes primarily single-parent homes. What security measures are going to be in place? Are there going to be cameras, on-site managers, 24/7 security officers? Also, what are the requirements for approval to stay at the shelter? What criminal charges are prohibited? And Kyle Elementary is 0.6 miles away from the corner of Evergreen Avenue and Park Street. And this is a bus stop for middle and high school kids. So mainly just concerning some safety issues that are involved with our children and our community. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there anyone else to speak against the petitioner? Is there anyone else here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anyone to speak for the petitioner?
Hello, my name is Jessica Zabo. I'm a homeowner on Evergreen, and I am a resident, a longtime resident of Portage. I just came back actually, born and raised here. I think that this is a very important thing that they're doing here. for the underserved, lower income people, people with disabilities. Portage does have the need for this, and I think that it's very important that we help these people. Hearing all these negative things really upsets me from the people who are against them, and they should kind of feel ashamed. I received this letter from Ben in my mailbox. I don't know if you guys got it, but he said a couple things that were super offensive. A quick search shows that he is not a resident of Portage. I don't know if that's new or not, but I am a resident, and I do own a home, and I'm very excited for this to happen. And I think Portage is on the right way with helping people who are low income and disabled. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wants to speak for the petitioner? Does anyone else want to speak for the petitioner? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. And Mr. Lee?
Yeah, thank you very much. The first two gentlemen that spoke, both of them made the same error, and that is they referred to the project as a homeless shelter. This is not a homeless shelter. These are rental homes, just as any other apartment project would be the home of the tenants. The rent that's paid by our tenants are going to be dictated by the state guidelines for the IHCDA, the Indiana Housing Authority, but this is not a shelter. The tenants are in fact that. They sign a lease. This will be their home for the term of the lease. It's not transient housing where someone comes and stays the night or the week or the month. These are homes. With regard to the use, again, and I understand that perhaps the ship has sailed on that was kind of the thought there. But the Board of Zoning Appeals didn't grant any use variances. This was not a recent change where there was a short period of time ago where this was not allowed. When your zoning map was adopted, that's when this became an allowable use. The variances that were granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals are developmental standard variances. In other words, the second lot can be created without having frontage on Evergreen, a reduction in the parking because our tenants aren't going to have cars by and large. So we're having 88 car parking, which is sufficient for the 48 units that we have. Those are the kinds of variances that we receive from the Board of Zoning Appeals, but not one to have apartments in this site. And as you can tell, as you know, there are apartments all throughout this particular part of the city. This is not a homeless shelter.
Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I got a couple. You said it's, I'm glad you clarified because I wasn't sure exactly what type of, I volunteer with Habitat for Humanity and we built 5 homes in Portage here. And they're much like where it's an ownership. It's a house, they own it, they have a mortgage and all this other good stuff, just like every other homeowner, okay? So what you're saying is that these are basically rental properties, okay, townhomes, I presume, style or?
It's apartment style.
Apartment style, okay. And their lease, is it a year lease, 6 months? Or is it variable or what type of lease?
I believe it's variable. Jordan, can you speak to that?
Yes, the initial lease has to be for 1 year.
Okay. And for lack of a better term, but I believe you mentioned this, it's basically Section 8 will be handling the financial end for these?
Technically, it's not Section 8. This is a tax credit project. And so the rents are dictated based upon the income of the tenants. And I'll let Jordan amplify that?
Sure. So we are using a variety of. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm Jordan Stanfill. I'm the CEO of Housing Opportunities, so the owner for the project. And so the subsidies are to build the apartments. So we received a variety of state and federal sources to help construct the apartments. Like in phase one, there are no subsidized rents. So the rents are a set rate, regardless of the person's income, as long as they qualify to live there. So for us, one bedrooms will be around $500, and it will include all utilities except for electric. And that is for anyone who lives in a one-bedroom apartment there, regardless of their income. And then the second phase will have 9 of the units will be income-based. The rest will be the same as in the first phase. So if the person's income increases, the rent goes up a little bit. That's for 9 of the 36 units. The rest are all, again, a set rate, just like any other apartment you'd find in the community. We just charge below market rates for our renters.
Will you be doing like any kind of background check, like a criminal background check for the residents?
Sure, yep. So we utilize property management software called RealPage. So we have a property management staff that oversees all of our properties. And so it has background checks built into the system. And so we use state and federal background checks and sex offender registry checks as well. That's standard for all of our properties across the board.
What about security measures? Will there be any kind of security there at the complex?
So I believe we intend to have cameras in the building, but that's still to be determined by the budget. But the rest will be keypadded locks. We use keypads instead of keys for our buildings, secure entrance and exits, and then we'll have on-site management like we do for all of our developments that have the office space there, which is what the first phase is building.
So on-site 24/7 or just during
Nope.
the day?
Yeah, so it'll be set hours depending on, again, how many units are there at the time. So the first phase is only 12 units, so we'll have staffing there commensurate with the amount of time that's needed for our residents there. But again, they're not like service needs for our clients, so we're not giving, case management to our clients in those units and stuff too. They're just regular folks who work in the community and who need a more affordable place to live than they typically can find elsewhere in Portage.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Maintenance and upkeep, is that in-house or is that outsourced?
Yep. So it's both. So we have on-staff maintenance staff as well, and then for bigger projects, they do anything in the apartment, simple remodels, stuff like that. A roof repair, we contract that out with local contractors, stuff like that.
Okay, so normal.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. What about the outside cameras? You had mentioned possibly the inside cameras. What about outside cameras?
So yeah, if the budget allows, we'll have both outside and inside coverage that we'll have for those. We don't have them at very many of our properties because there's not a need for that.
Okay.
And again, it's budget dependent on that, especially right now with how things are going cost-wise for construction.
What kind of activities will be in the community building? What will that be used for?
Sure. So we'll have some office space there. There'll be for our both maintenance staff and property managers. So when someone has a lease signing, stuff like that, they can do that just right next to their building. And then we'll have a small computer lab area for residents to use, an exercise room for residents to use, and then a small meeting classroom set up. And we have some providers in the community who have agreed to do cooking classes from the Portage Y there. NEO will do some intro classes there to see if residents want to engage in their education services or job training programs if they're looking for better employment or different employment, stuff like that. Yep. And same thing with we'll have a residents council, so they'll be able to meet there and with the staff and kind of help self-manage the project.
What about playground or activities for no matter what age group that ends up moving in there? What is something, because I'm looking at this and it's like there's nothing to do.
Yeah. So we don't have an on-site playground, so that's something we discussed, and we thought in proximity to other parks in Portage, it made sense to utilize city parks for that. So Founders Square is just on the other side of just west of there as well. So we didn't go with a new playground at this site for that reason. And there's not one directly in the neighborhood as well.
What about basketball court or something, really like the parking lot, something for the kids? Because I know, like you said, many of them may or may not have cars. They're not going to let their kids walk all the way down.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the playground.
So a lot of residents will have cars. They just won't typically have 2 cars per family. So, you know, we have scattered site developments throughout Portage, and that's what residents do. They use city services in parks, or they drive to, you know, those parks and doing that. We will have a community garden space on site that we'll use and stuff like that as well. And then things we'll do inside in terms of the community room for children and families as well. But at this point, we don't have any plans for any outside activities in that way, again, at this point, for children.
And what can be done to move that direction? Because I would love to see something with kids.
Sure, our team can go back and look at, you know, some of it is based on space for the site too. It's a bit tight, so some of it's a space thing, but I think we can go back as a team and look at what might be feasible and see if we can squeeze something in.
I would appreciate that. Because I was looking, and even if you move the community building over a little more, it gives you more of a lot for playground or activity area for the kids.
I will have to push that to our architects and engineers because they've done a lot of work to make this site work with all the various requirements and from the design standards. So we'll take a look though and get back with you for sure on that. Yeah.
And we have other things, you know, like lot coverage and so forth to meet too. So if we start, you know, doing those things, we may run afoul of another code or something. So,
but I appreciate what
we'll sharpen the pencil.
Thank you.
What are the requirements for someone to be able to be housed there and rent there?
Yeah, so the high level requirement is an income requirement. So it is people who are 60% of area median income or below is the kind of the funder's requirement of who can live in the apartments there. And so
I'm sorry, 60% of what?
Area median income. So it's like a defined federal rate of income. I don't have the exact outlines of the things, but for a family of 4, it's around like $45,000 annual income for a family of a household of 4 to live there, and it goes up or down by household size. So that's the baseline funder requirement, and then again we have our own property management standards for background checks and sex offenders and stuff like that that come into play.
So basically required to have an income. It's not free housing.
Oh yeah, so again, the rents are a set rate, so if you can't afford the rents at that rate, then, you know, we are the business of housing people, and so we don't want to put someone in a situation where they can't afford an apartment. You know, if you only make $700 a month and you're trying to rent a 2-bedroom for $650, that math doesn't work out for you. So we're going to try and find some alternatives for that family and work elsewhere, but they're not going to qualify for that unit.
They will not qualify for that.
Right.
Will there be any kind of like elevator for people with disabilities?
So there will not be an elevator in the buildings. There are accessible units on the ground floor for people with disabilities. Yeah.
Okay.
What about, I guess address this, I mean, it was a quote-unquote study show, but it wasn't cited what study shows crime increase within 5 miles of these type of developments.
Yeah, so they mentioned homeless shelter, and this is not a homeless shelter.
Okay.
This is an apartment complex.
Yeah, so I would counter that for, especially if you're doing affordable housing or low-income housing, the studies have shown that there is no effect on crime or property values for developments of this nature. But again, I don't have them in front of me to show you that, but again, that's what we can supply those to.
The empirical studies tend to show whether it's single-family homes next to other single-family homes, multifamily, whatever the housing is, the driving factor on property value impact is maintenance. If you have a well-maintained multifamily development next to a single family, the property values of that single family are not harmed whatsoever. But if you have a single family next to another single family and they don't cut their grass and the roof is in bad shape and the gutters are hanging, then that's going to affect property values of the homes surrounding the other single family. It's maintenance.
Any other questions? think we've addressed a lot of the, all the concerns that were brought up. Do we have a motion to approve or deny?
Yeah.
Sure, yes.
So what's the maximum, for the apartments, what's the maximum number of bedrooms are gonna be in the apartments? Is it, you said there are one bedrooms, are there gonna be 2, 3, 4 bedroom apartments, or what are you gonna have?
Yeah, so the first phase, which is the 12-unit building, is half 1 bedrooms, half 2 bedrooms. And then the second phase is a mixture of some studios, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments.
And what's going to be your maximum number of individuals per bedroom? So if it's a 3-bedroom unit, you're gonna allow 2 people per room, so it's a 6-person apartment?
And no, so our standards are, studios are singles or couples, 1 bedrooms are up to 3 people, and 2 bedrooms are up to 5 people.
1 bedroom is up to 3 people?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And which is, again, standard across our portfolio, and there are no local standards that I'm aware of for that. And it's not very typical we see that. Sometimes we see that if it's a single parent household or something like that, and someone gets added later, whether it's a second child or a spouse comes in or something like that too. But it's not very typical we see 3 people. Generally, it's 2 people or 1 people for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay, so that was 2 for studio or 1 bedroom, possibly 3 people, and then what was the other?
5 people for a 2-bedroom.
5 people.
And I apologize, I want to introduce Hortensia Moreno, Park Board representing the Park Board. So, any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make a motion to approve the primary plat.
Do you want a contingent on Rule 5?
Pardon?
Do we want a contingent on Rule 5 permit?
I don't know if that's something we can do a contingency on, is it?
I would suggest that if you're going to make that a contingent, you would do that on the site plan, because that's where the building permit comes in.
Right, for the soil, you're talking about the soil erosion?
Yeah, whatever the Rule 5 permit is for, yeah. If they have to, they're waiting for our approval before they
Yeah,
get
I don't
it.
think it needs to be a condition. I mean, they're gonna get a permit before they get a permit built,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
I think it's just a comment, maybe more of it as a heads up.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll.
Carrie Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Tom Sheridan.
Yes.
I do look forward to hearing from you though, as far as playground or activities for
Absolutely.
the kids.
Do you have a card?
How do you?
And I have one more call. Hortensia Moreno.
Yes.
Let's go with you.
All right, now we're on the new business, S-0121. This is the secondary plat approval on the same case. Good. The same train.
Are there any questions on the secondary plat approval? We're moving on to the secondary plat approval. If there's no questions, do we have a motion to approve or deny?
I'll motion to approve secondary plat.
Roll call.
Carrie Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Tom Sherry.
Yes. And moving on to SP-03-21. This is for site plan approval for the 12-unit apartment building and 2,135 square foot community building.
We have a question we want to clarify. It's our understanding that the request for the site plan approval was for both Phase 1 and Phase 2. All of the engineering, all of the comments related to the entire project.
Give us a moment.
Sure.
Phase 1 and Phase 2.
So this is a site plan approval for Phase 1 and 2, which includes Lot 2 and 3. So we are, do I have a motion?
A motion to approve.
Has
Motion
it been
to-
addressed, both of us were wondering as to like, an exit, a second exit out of that parking lot?
To my knowledge, that was never a comment. What the comment that we did address had to do with turnarounds for large vehicles, scavenger trucks, and fire department. We provided for the turnarounds for that.
So it's enough room for fire, paramedics, and so forth?
In the staff comments, fire was included in the staff review.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
A motion to approve.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
Attorney Lee, the issue on phase 1 and phase 2 is a commercial location permit. You have basically, in a nutshell, you have a year from the date of the site plan approval to start that second phase, or it expires and you come back here anyway. Are you guys, where are you on phase 2 as far as when you think you might start constructing?
The issue is going to be, I'm sure, one of financing.
I know.
The answer is it depends on the financing. We have just applied for the second phase of funding, and we will find out in November if it's awarded. And since we are so far along on design, it is conceivable that we could possibly start construction within a year's time. If not, then we would understand that we would need to come back for that second phase.
As long as we go in eyes wide open.
There you go.
So proceed with phases, okay. Sir?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Phase?
Phase two.
Okay. Phase 1 and 2.
Phase 1 and 2.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll.
Carrie Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geis Hurst,
Yes.
Hortensio Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Tom Sherry.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so very much for your time and consideration this evening on these three matters. It's very important for your, certainly for my client, but for your community as well. I do have one question. So the 1 year on phase 2, the clock starts when? Tonight or when we
Yes.
pull permits?
The site plan application process in Portage doesn't contemplate phasing site plans. The way the ordinance reads is it triggers on this day right here.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next new business, SP-04-21, seeking site plan approval to improve the site for a stone parking lot and fence at 1971 Marine Drive.
Good evening. My name is Doug Holmeyer with McMahon. I'm the engineer for the project, representing Foundation Equities and Mr. Ben Kramer. We're here tonight seeking site plan approval for, as you just stated, the truck parking lot and the fence surrounding it. And we've been working with your engineers and with your staff that we think we've gotten everything complete. I spoke with Kurt this morning, and he brought up that there was some concern about the right-of-way along Marine Drive. So what I'd like to show you is the Alta survey that was done on this property that does show that the property is written out to the center line or the adequate part of Marine Drive. However, this does show that there is a right-of-way there for that 30 feet. I brought 5 of them and I kind of highlighted it states the right of way through there, that right of way is there. And your GIS also shows that there is, that this comes up as a right of way. In our drawings, if you guys could maybe,
Those two can share that one.
I've got two more,
Yeah.
just separate them.
Those-
That this shows that this is right of way through here based on the Alta survey. And our drawings did show, based on your GIS, or the Porter County GIS, there is a 60-foot right of way for Marine Drive through there. So with that, I believe we have met all the staff's requirements, and I answered all their questions on this, and I'm here tonight to answer any questions you may have on the site plan, and we are looking for site plan approval.
49 is here, so it's back here. So we're familiar with that area.
Can I ask staff what about that as far as?
I believe this comment was from Adam Marsh, Jim, so if you want to handle this one.
Yeah, I think the concern was like simple dedication of that. Just because it's labeled a right of way doesn't mean that it was properly dedicated to the city. So even on this document, it shows.
And I assume that that was based on the title work that was listed on the Alta survey. I wish I could have asked John, who was sitting here just a couple minutes ago. But, however, we are not opposed at all if there's something that wants to be drafted up that we will dedicate that right-of-way. Usually right-of-way gets dedicated with a plat, some type of subdivision plat. But we are more than willing to dedicate that section if you guys want something that says it's being dedicated. My client has absolutely no problem with allowing the dedication of that 30 feet in there as part of the approval of the site plan.
And the problem is that Monroe has pointed out is that if we do it on the site plan, it's almost impossible for it to get tracked down later on. It's not normally what people are looking, so we've got to figure out another mechanism to get it dedicated.
Yeah, there'd have to be some type of paperwork drafted up that could be recorded at the recorder's office, and then it would follow with that. I said, I spoke with John Hannon, who is the owner of Great Lakes Engineering, and and he confirmed, yes, there's a right-of-way there, but possibly we could get any of the documentation that is referenced in there under the title work that would show that it's dedicated.
I think we can handle the dedication by making the motion. If there was going to potentially be a motion to approve, that it would be contingent upon the dedication right-of-way or roadway to be handled at the Board of Works for the City of Portage. So once that, if we tie the two together and made it contingent, then they would get their approval they're seeking tonight once that dedication paperwork has been dealt with and accepted at the Board of Works. I think that's the easiest way, the cleanest way for somebody to be able to figure out where this dedication came from in 10 or 20 years. So as far as that issue goes, I think that would be the way to handle that.
We also have an issue on Turbine Sidewalk.
Yeah, so prior to the issuance of an improvement location permit, the petitioner will be required to go to the Board of Works to seek a curb and sidewalk waiver. When that matter is resolved at the Board of Works, that will trigger the issuance of a commercial ILP for the project.
Okay. So that would be two contingencies potentially then, correct?
Yeah, the second one, the curb and sidewalk waiver, I don't think it needs to be a contingency.
Okay.
It's just on the checklist prior to the issuance of this
Okay.
commercial ILP. The second, though, is a matter that if we could tie, if the commission pleasure is to approve the site plan, if we could tie that contingency with regard to the right-of-way dedication, that would be the appropriate way to track that.
Okay. Any questions?
Can you
Go
explain,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Can you explain just basically for those listening, what you do with that piece of property? What business was run out of there?
I believe it's going to be storage for tractor trailers that would be stored there temporarily between routing from one place to another. Ben never actually told me exactly what it is, but I've done 2 other truck parking facilities for them in the Gary area, where I think they're expanding what they have to the north. They need just more rooms to park trucks because their business is growing, and they're going to be utilizing this because we have put an entranceway to the north property, which this is contiguous with.
Commissioner Geisers. Good question. Several months ago, maybe 2 or 3 now, the petitioner came to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a use variance and a couple developmental standards variances for this property. He owns a business at the north end of Douglas Drive. There are 2 businesses, I believe, operating out of the same building. The same lot, I'm sorry. The parking lot that's being proposed this evening is meant to serve as a parking area for vehicles to be worked on in the 2 locations off of Douglas Drive with secondary access points off of Marine. But the BZA did grant a variance, a use variance, and the developmental standards variances a couple months ago.
Okay. Thank you for explaining.
Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion, and do you need the verbiage for the contingency if that is what you want to do?
With those, the contingency, yeah.
So you motion to approve with the contingency of dedication of right-of-way to be presented at the Board of Works of the City of Portage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Roll.
Kerry Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geisers,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Tom Cherry.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next new business, S-02-21, seeking secondary plat approval for Brookside Subdivision at the northwest corner of Airport and Loop Roads.
Good evening, Mr. President, fellow commission members. For the record, and those that may not know me, my name is Todd Clevin. I'm the land planning and entitlement manager for Lennar Homes. Our offices reside at 1141 East Main Street, Suite 108, East Dundee, Illinois. And I am a Lake County resident residing at 250 East 123rd Place, Crown Point, Indiana. I am in front of you this evening of August 2nd for petition number S-02-21 as stated for final plat approval of the Brookside subdivision. Before I get started, if it's okay to approach you, I do have some handouts that will correspond with my presentation this evening. handing out is a copy of the plat, and also our engineer's estimated cost of construction that corresponds with a future letter of credit.
I think.
Did I get lost?
Before I get started, I just want to first and foremost, as always, thank AJ's office and Kurt and even Attorney McClure. They were very beneficial with helping our schedule and getting us in front of you this evening as opposed to next month. We are in front of you, like I said, to plat the entire subdivision of Brookside Subdivision, consisting of 174 lots. Corresponding with that, I do have the engineer's estimated cost for that construction. I do have one question, and they're pursuant to your development code, section 6616, stating that we shall post 125% of the cost. As you can see, we have a contingency in there of 10%. Typically, when municipalities ask for 110%, that 10% would cover that additional 10%. I'm not sure if Portage is requiring us to go an additional 25% on top of the 10 or just 15. I'll leave that up for the board's direction to us, but we're willing to cooperate with the number that is decided upon. Also, during the review comments and speaking with staff, you could see at Lute Road on the north side of our entrance, we have Outlot B and also Outlot D. You'll also see some triangular sight vision right-of-way there. That right-of-way was decided upon at the primary plat level, just in case at some point in the future the city decided to install some sort of traffic signal there. That did come up during review, ongoing discussions with the engineering department, and the adequate right-of-way does exist for that improvement if and when the city were to decide to build some sort of a signalized improvement there. With that, this is pretty much a ministerial procedure. As you know, all the I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed at the primary level. We are on schedule with our current construction, and we are looking to pull our first building permit in September of this year, next month. And I'll open up any questions that you may have.
As far as the letter of credit or bond, my recommendation would be we take the subtotal without the contingency and add 25%. And that gets us really close to this. Basically, my recommendation would be a round number of 9.5 million.
And if you can just let the record show that I also concur with that number. To be exact, I came up with $9,495,979.72. And again, I took the subtotal and just added 25% to it.
Yep.
And
so I think 9.5 is, and then we'll just base it off that and not the contingency and then on top.
Okay, so we don't need a contingency.
Yeah, that is, our code builds in a 25%
Right.
contingency.
So that's in the record.
Their estimated cost at 25%, we get to the 9.5.
Gotcha, okay.
And then and any motion would be contingent upon Board of Works acceptance and approval of the $9.5 million letter of credit or bond, however they're choosing to do that.
There were some minor review comments as well from the Porter County Auditor's Office, and we will make sure that the plan reflects those comments. The addresses that we received today will submit a new paper plat prior to recording the Mylar. So we would be open to any type of approval contingent upon us furnishing you the revised plat with those recommendations from the Porter County Auditor's Office. They were minor. They were address related and some acreage related comments on the outlots.
Are there any questions?
Chip, and I believe after March, you had an opportunity to review the number for the letter of credit or the bond, the 7.59678378 is what you believe to be a reasonable number for the required improvements themselves.
I reviewed the unit prices, and the unit prices seem fair for a residential development. I didn't go through all of the unit quantities. But the overall number seems in line with a development of this size.
And the number that was submitted also includes all the infrastructure that has currently been done out there. So we well surpass the 25% that's built in. We have hundreds of thousands in the ground already as it exists today.
Whatever happened with the, I think, if I remember correctly, I think we were on a primary plat approval, we sent it back, we proved it with going back to the Board of Zone because of the sidewalk or lack of along Airport Road.
Yes.
And to see what they said, whatever came about that.
Go ahead.
So we did petition the Board of Works on that, and we did cooperate and agree to install a sidewalk along the east side of Airport Road. And the concern was how they would traverse across Robbins Ditch. And we also agreed to install a pedestrian bridge over Robbins Ditch. Post-approval, I've had conversations, and correct me if I'm stepping out of turn here, AJ, I've had some conversations with the mayor and AJ, and they asked us if we could hold off on the installation of that as we get to that portion of the project, as the city might have some other ideas in that area, and we have agreed to hold off prior to installing that pedestrian bridge. There's, once we have our approval of the mitigation, as everybody remembers, the critical part of this project was the mitigation, keeping it on site. The restraints that we had with the lineal footage corresponding with that permit, once that is all said and done, I believe the city might move forward and petition to continue the filling of Robbins Ditch along Airport Road. And I think that was the reason why we might hold off on that, to see if the city wants to pursue in that fashion.
Excellent.
But to answer your question, we are currently approved contingent upon installing that bridge. So if all else were to fail, the developer is responsible for installing the bridge and connecting all the sidewalks along the east side of Airport Road.
So you're going to run the sidewalks basically and then wait to do the bridge depending on what the city decides.
And then again, if we're told to continue with the approval, that sidewalk will veer into an outlot in which you guys would have control over. We would install the pedestrian bridge, and then it would veer back and connect to the existing sidewalk north of our project. To elaborate on that in just a little bit more detail, one of the approvals that we received, there was a cash in lieu of improvements that was approved to allow us to put towards that bridge. And one thing AJ asked me, this is just via phone call and verbal, is if the developer would be willing to take those funds and put it towards the project if the project were to change direction, and we agreed to do that. Did I cover all that, AJ?
Exceptionally well.
All by memory.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Making a motion, we approve the secondary plat?
Contingency, do you have the verbiage?
And I believe that Mr. Clevin indicated that he is aware of some comments that Porter County had regarding the plat. So if we could just, in the contingency, include a condition that Mr. Clevin will make the necessary corrections to the secondary plat. There will, as a result of that, be a few changes in the language that appear on the plat document.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
You second?
Yes.
Roll.
Kerry Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geisler,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Tom Cherry.
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. I do have one question, if I may, probably towards Attorney McClure. As far as the Board of Works application or the agenda placement of the letter of credit, is that something that I need to officially apply for, or will that automatically be placed on the next Board of Works meeting?
Yeah, we'll put it on the Board of Works.
Okay. And that'll be in
I
a
think you
couple...
just need to work with Attorney Wynn on the actual letter of credit or bond, whatever it is you need to use.
I did formally submit a draft just so we could have the language approved. I don't foresee any issues as we did submit the same type of letter of credit for the bonding of the mitigation and the filling of Robin Fitz. It mimics that same language. I'll make sure we reach out to
I'm
him.
not foreseeing an issue, so get you there, get the docs together, get it approved.
Thank you again.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
all your time and efforts.
Thank you.
I would just like to say, I think our chairman tonight did a lovely job running the meeting. Thank you.